The Middle East is one of the most tense and complex regions in Asia, consistently making headlines due to various reasons such as the Israel-Arab and Iran conflicts, oil resources, and regional competitions. This region is a hotbed for proxy wars, which have devastating impacts. Currently, there are 4 wars ongoing in this region, involving countries like Palestine, Lebanon, Yemen, and Syria. Additionally, outside this area, one can mention the Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict, Taliban engagements with neighboring countries, and the unstable situation in Sudan. Additionally, numerous militia groups operate in this region, with some of them receiving support from regional countries and others being backed by global powers. Israel's recent attacks on Gaza in recent months also aim to completely eliminate one of these proxy groups, namely Hamas, which has resulted in widespread destruction and civilian casualties in the Gaza Strip. Over the past 2 decades, since the beginning of the 21st century, this region has witnessed many conflicts leading to a surge in refugee populations and earning it the reputation of being the most unstable part of the world. Amidst all these upheavals and events, traces of involvement from various countries can be observed, with Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Israel being the most prominent players. Iran, as one of the major and influential actors in the Middle East, has conflicting interests with Israel and the United States. Over the past 4 decades, this country has acquired various instruments of pressure, from its military power reliant on long-range missiles to controlling strategic positions in the Persian Gulf and exerting Shia religious influence. One of the most important power tools of Iran in the Middle East is the Axis of Resistance, which is the most important and influential military tool of Iran for intervention in the Middle East, especially against Israel. Although Iran, Israel, or the United States have never officially declared war on each other, a Cold War is underway between them. Iran predominantly conducts this war indirectly through its quasi-military groups and proxies, the Axis of Resistance. In the following, we aim to familiarize ourselves with one of Iran's military arms, namely the Axis of Resistance, and examine their military capabilities. What means Iran's Axis of Resistance? The Axis of Resistance in Iran refers to a coalition of militant and relatively independent groups operating in countries such as Iraq, Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, and Yemen. Additionally, this militia forces includes fighting groups from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Azerbaijan. An introduction to proxy wars. The use of proxy groups back to the Cold War era between the superpowers of the East and West, namely the United States and the Soviet Union. For example, the deployment of 40,000 Cuban troops in Africa, they supported the Soviet allied governments. Similarly, the United States pursued a similar policy by creating Contras forces in Nicaragua, UNITA in Angola, and the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, with support from Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union, a growing trend in using such tactics was witnessed among major players in West Asia, with Iran being one of the prime examples. Proxy warfare refers to a form of indirect combat involving varying degrees of cooperation between regular and irregular military forces. These conflicts can be fueled by financial, propaganda, and armament support from third-party powers, imposing minimal economic, political, and human costs for those countries. The emergence of this tactic, particularly in the bipolar world, can be attributed to the high costs of direct military conflict and the avoidance of nuclear war. What means Iran's Axis of Resistance? The Iranian Axis of Resistance comprises a collection of allied groups outside of Iran, aligned with Iranian ideology or goals. Iran assists non-state anti-Western groups in the absence of independent and anti-Western governments. In Iranian foreign and military policy, direct military engagement ranks low in priorities. Over the past 4 decades, Iran has utilized its proxy groups in various ways, including supporting the government and preserving the survival of Bashar al-Assad's regime, exporting the revolution and spreading Shia ideology and religion in the Middle East, countering similar actions by rivals such as Saudi Wahhabism and Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood. Combating ISIS, supporting and defending Shia shrines and sanctities during that period, pressuring regional rivals such as Saudi Arabia and attacking oil facilities, confronting the hegemony of the United States and Israel, and launching direct military attacks on their bases in countries such as Iraq and Syria. Introduction to Iranian proxy groups in the Middle Eastern countries and Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, Quds Force. Iranian-backed proxy groups are located in various countries, enabling Iran to exert pressure on regional rivals and keep US and Israeli military bases vulnerable. Iran has established a total of 20 proxy groups in the limited Middle Eastern region and its periphery scattered across 9 countries. Most of these groups are present in Iraq and Syria. In the event of direct confrontation between Iran and the United States or Israel, all Iranian-affiliated military groups across the Middle East region and some surrounding countries could expand the battlefield to 9,643,085 square kilometers. The Islamic Republic of Iran Armed Forces consists of 3 major branches: the Army, Law Enforcement Force, and a special military branch called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. This military branch plays the most significant role in protecting the goals of the Islamic Republic inside and outside Iran. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is formed with the objectives of preventing foreign interference in Iran, thwarting coups by the traditional military, and suppressing deviant movements that challenge the ideological legacy of the Islamic Revolution. This military organization has 5 branches, with 2 crucial ones being the Basij and the Quds Force. The Quds Force, whose former commander Soleimani was assassinated in 2020 under Trump's orders, primarily conducts extraterritorial military operations, organizing and coordinating Iranian-affiliated military groups, as well as providing advisory and military presence in Middle Eastern and global countries, supporting allied governments including the Assad regime, are among the most important cross-border activities of this organization. It is estimated that the Quds Force may have between 3,000 to 50,000 personnel. Additionally, according to leaked documents, the budget of this military branch from the IRGC is estimated to be around $220 to $300 million. However, some experts consider this figure to be very insignificant. After Soleimani's death, the current commander of the Quds Force is Esmail Khani. According to David Dionisi, a former US Army intelligence officer, this military organization operates in 8 geographical regions, including Western countries: Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan and India, Israel, Lebanon and Jordan, Turkey, North Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, the former Soviet Union republics. Introduction to 20 proxy-based Iran's Axis of Resistance. It is estimated that Iranian proxy groups have up to 400,000 active members and up to 1 million reserve forces. Since these forces are dispersed throughout the countries of the region, we will proceed to introduce them in each country. The order of introduction will be from least to most significant. Number 1. Azerbaijan. In this country, there is one resistance group called the Islamic Resistance Movement of Azerbaijan, or Husseyniyun, Husseinchilar. The main members of this movement are seminary students from the religious seminaries of Qom, who attract forces from the Shiite population in Azerbaijan and the countries of the Caucasus region. This group is known as a Shiite Islamic organization and anti-government. The leader of this group is Tawhid Ibrahim Bili, who is a staunch critic of the Aliyev regime. It is estimated that this group has fewer than 1,000 members. The goals of this group are discourse creation among the Shiites of the Republic of Azerbaijan, creating deterrence and empowering them based on the resistance model, and forming a government in the form of an Islamic republic. The formation of this group dates back to a time when the government of this country implemented anti-religious policies against Shiites and arrested and pressured religious activists. Although members of this group participated in the wars in Iraq and Syria to fight against terrorist groups and defend Shiite holy sites, they were not yet recognized as an official group. Finally, in 2017, with the support of the commander of the Quds Force, the activities of Husseiniun officially began under this name. It is predicted that due to the strengthening of Azerbaijani nationalism and pan-Turkism by the Azerbaijani government and the support of this country's government for Israel, Iran may pay special attention to anti-government groups in Azerbaijan. Number 2. Bahrain. In Bahrain, there are groups and coalitions that are related to Iran, focusing on opposition to Israel and the ruling regime. Since a significant portion of the population in this country consists of Shiites, similar to Azerbaijan, there is no doubt about the existence of these groups. The Axis of Resistance in Bahrain consists of 3 militia groups. The first is the Al-Ashtar Brigades, known as Sarai al-Ashtar. This group's name is derived from Malik ibn al-Harith al-Ashari, one of the relative of the first Shiite Imam. This militia group, which receives support from Iran and Qatar, was formed in March 2012, with its leaders being 2 individuals named Ahmed Yusuf Sarhan, known as Abu Montazir, and Jassim Ahmed Abdullah, known as Dulfikar. These individuals are not present in Bahrain and are likely residing in Iran. In early July 2017, countries such as Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and the United States designated this group as a terrorist organization. The second proxy group supported by Iran in Bahrain is the Al-Mukhtar Brigades, known as Sarai al-Muqawama fil Bahrain. This group opposes the Bahraini government and was formed following the 2011 protests in the country. The group engages in guerrilla warfare and has conducted several operations against Bahraini government forces. Like the first group, the Al-Mukhtar Brigades have also been designated as a terrorist organization. The third Iran-supported group in Bahrain is Saraya Vadala, which was formed in early 2015 during the uprising of the Bahraini people against the monarchy. This group militarily fights against the regime. It is estimated that the total forces of these groups in Bahrain are less than 1,000 individuals. However, alongside these 3 groups, another entity known as the February 14th Youth Coalition should be mentioned. This coalition is among the revolutionary and political organizations in Bahrain. Formed during the 2011 protests, it has been perceived as a terrorist organization since 2017, similar to other groups. The February 14th Youth Coalition focuses more on social and political activities, so it cannot be considered a militia group. The goals of these groups in Bahrain include overthrowing the Bahraini government, Farsi fighting and opposing Israel, recruiting popular forces to resistance groups, combating the interference of Arab governments in Bahrain, imposing the demands of the resistance, or Iran, on the Bahraini government. Number 3. Pakistan. In Pakistan, there exists a group aligned with the Iran's Axis of Resistance, known as the Zainabiyun Brigade, Liwahu Zinbiyun. Initially, the core of this group consisted of 24 individuals. Although Pakistani members of the resistance axis were present in the Fatemiyun division in Afghanistan before 2015, they were later defined as a separate brigade, while some consider members of this brigade as a branch of Hezbollah Lebanon. As implied by the name, the primary objective of this group was initially the defense of the Sayyida Zainab Mosque, one of the holy sites for Shia Muslims. Later on, they played a role in the liberation operations of various cities in Iraq and Syria from ISIS. Among the leaders of this brigade, Zainat Ali Jafari, the first leader, Aqid Malik, Mater Hussein, Mohammad Janti, known as Haj Haidar, Alireza Gilan, and Sardar Musavi can be mentioned. It is estimated that this group has around 800 to 1,500 members. The Zainabiyun Brigade of Pakistan is mainly composed of Shia Muslims of this country and operates in Syria and Iraq to combat ISIS and defend Shia holy sites. It also includes Iranian forces. Some of the current objectives of this group include defense of Shia holy sites, combating Israel, supporting Syrian government forces in proxy wars, fighting against opposing and terrorist groups in Syria and Iraq. The activities of this group are primarily outside the borders of Pakistan. Number 4. Afghanistan. Afghanistan is one of the countries close to Iran, hosting a group aligned with the resistance axis known as the Fatimiyun Brigade, Lishkar Fatimiyun. This group was named due to its coincidence with the martyrdom days of Fatima Zahra, the wife of the first Shia Imam and the daughter of Prophet Muhammad, named Fatimiyun. The Fatimiyun Brigade, in its current form, initially had a presence among Iraqi Shia forces. Then it was first established by Ali Reza Tavasoli, known as Abu Hamid, in 2014. Some consider the Fatimiyun Brigade as a branch of Hezbollah Afghanistan, established in 1980, but the prevailing opinion emphasizes the separation of this group. Upon closer examination of the roots of this group, it can be seen as a militant group that has been involved in combating the Soviet occupation in Afghanistan, fighting against the Taliban, and the Iran-Iraq War. Although the initial core of this group was formed with 20 members, it is now estimated that the Fatimiyun Brigade has 3,000 active fighters and up to a maximum of 14,000 to 20,000 members. According to some estimates, the casualties of this group in the wars in Iraq and Syria exceed 2,000 killed and over 8,000 wounded. Despite being a relatively large brigade, the structure has taken shape in a way that it does not behave independently like Hezbollah Lebanon, and has practically turned into a branch of the paramilitary forces associated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. In addition to military operations, the Fatimiyun Brigade has been involved in some domestic relief efforts in Iran, including assisting flood victims and combating COVID-19. According to military commanders' opinions, this group played a significant role in defeating ISIS and breaking the military stalemate, which is why it has incurred relatively high casualties compared to its population. Some of the objectives of this group include fighting against ISIS terrorists, defending Shia locations and holy sites, proxy wars against terrorist and opposing groups, combating Israel and its proxy forces. This group, along with the Zainabiyun Brigade, was sanctioned by the United States in January 2019. The activities of this group are primarily outside the borders of Afghanistan and Pakistan. Number 5. Iraq. Iraq and Syria can be considered as biggest playgrounds for Iran's proxy groups. Iraq is the second most significant Shiite country in the Middle East, hosting the largest number of Iranian proxy groups. Their primary role is to attack American bases and exert pressure on the government to expel them. Currently, about 2,000 to 2,500 American troops are present in Iraq to combat ISIS and train Iraqi military forces. Since Israel's attack on Hamas in October 2023, over 160 attacks have been carried out by these groups against American forces. These groups also pursue some of Iran's political goals and interests in Iraq, including influencing parliamentary elections, controlling border crossings, mainly for smuggling goods and weapons, etc. One of the importance of Iraq for Iran is its transit routes that provide access to Syria and Lebanon. There is a greater diversity among these groups, leading to differences in the level of military and financial support they receive from Iran. However, concerns have arisen in recent years about the unilateral actions of these groups, especially among those backed by Iran, such as the Tower 22 drone attack on the Jordan-Syria border. It is estimated that there are over 170,000 members of paramilitary forces in Iraq, not all of whom are affiliated with Iran-supported groups. These figures are not official, and no institution has provided precise data. The formation of these forces stems from several historical sources over the past 2 decades in Iraq. The US invasion of Iraq and the occupation of the country in 2003, which led to a central government vacuum. Sectarian wars in 2006. Additionally, most of these groups emerged during the expansion of ISIS in 2014 and after the fatwa of Iraq's Shia leader, Ayatollah Ali Sistani. Most leaders of these groups have close religious and historical ties to Iran, exemplified by figures like Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis. However, Iranian proxy groups in Iraq also engage in a wide range of activities to increase their power and attract more forces, including cultural activities like producing films and series, supporting sports groups, economic and construction activities, industrial and agricultural projects, and more. The most prominent Iranian proxy group in Iraq, which has carried out unprecedented attacks against American bases in Iraq and Syria, is Islamic Resistance in Iraq. However, it is not recognized as a single group, but comprises a collection of Iran-backed paramilitary groups united after the Israel-Hamas war in October 2023. With this introduction, stay tuned as we briefly introduce these groups one by one. Popular Mobilization Forces, Al-Hashd al-Sha'bi. Popular Mobilization Forces, also known as Al-Hashd al-Sha'bi, is the largest militia group formed or state-sponsored umbrella organization from popular mobilization to combat ISIS in March 2014 following a general jihad decree by Ayatollah Sistani. The leader of these official military forces is Fali Fayyad, with his deputies being Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis and Hadi al-Amiri. This organization encompasses within it 42 to 68 predominantly Shia militia groups, estimated to have around 160,000 members. Although precise statistics are unavailable, according to some estimates, 69% of these forces are Shia, 23% Sunni, and the rest comprise Turk, Kurd, and Christian members. Recognized as a separate corps from the Iraqi army, the core of this group consists of several armed factions that expanded primarily among Shia communities after the jihad decree. It's noteworthy that some militia groups within this large conglomerate are either sanctioned or accused of sectarian violence. The budget for these forces, now considered a security system within Iraq, was $2.6 billion in 2023. Key objectives of the Iraqi Popular Mobilization Forces include combating terrorist organizations, assisting in maintaining security and stability in Iraq, providing civil, social, and natural disaster services, defending sacred sites in Iraq, particularly in Syria, supporting resistance groups against Israel, confronting external threats, including the United States. Badr Organization, Munazamatu Badr. This organization was established in 1982 as a military branch of the Islamic Supreme Council of Iraq, from which it is now separate. Its founder is Muhammad Baqir al-Hakim. The formation of this organization followed the fatwa of the Shiite authority of the time, Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, which became definitive after his execution and intensified government crackdowns under Saddam Hussein against his opponents and Shiites. The Badr Corps has been recognized as the most organized military opposition to Saddam's regime and Shiites since ancient times. For this reason, its centers were relocated to Iran in the past and were supported by Iran in terms of intelligence, military, and financial assistance. The core of this organization was formed by commanders, officers, and opponents of Saddam's regime, numbering around 30-50 individuals. Although in the past this organization has been predominantly military, after the fall of Saddam's regime, it operates as a civil political party. This organization has a secretary-general named Hadi al-Amiri and a council. It is estimated to have between 10,000 to 15,000 forces. The Badr Corps leads about 10 to 17 groups of popular mobilization forces and is financially supported by the Iraqi government. Although considered an organ of the government, it sometimes deviates from the obedience to the Prime Minister and the Iraqi government. Badr is also the name of the military branch of this organization. Among the objectives of the Badr Corps in Iraq, the following can be mentioned: carrying out political, social, and media operations with the aim of expelling foreign forces, supporting the Syrian government in the form of forces of martyr Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, promoting Shiite ideology in the region, and supporting Iranian interests. Harakatu Hizbillahi Najba. Harakat Hezbollah al-Nujaba is a Shiite paramilitary movement from Iraq, recognized by the United States as a terrorist organization and led by Akram al-Kabi. This group emerged as a separate entity from the Shiite paramilitaries Asaib al-Haq and subscribes to the ideology of Iran's guardianship of the jurist. Iran provides direct military and advisory support to this group. Harakat Hezbollah al-Nujaba is divided into 4 brigades: the Ammar bin Yasser Brigade, the Al-Hamd Brigade, the Imam Hassan Brigade, and the Golan Liberation Brigade. In addition to being a branch of the Popular Mobilization Forces, PMF, this group is also affiliated with the collection of groups known as the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. It is estimated to have around 10,000 members. Among the objectives of this group are military support for Iran's interests in Iraq and Syria, direct confrontation with foreign forces, such as the United States and Western countries, in Iraq and Syria, support for the Syrian government and opposition to Israel. Asaib Ahl al-Haq. Asaib Ahl al-Haq, known as a political group in Iraq, currently has a more active military wing. The group was founded by Qais al-Khazali in 2006 after breaking away from the Mahdi army. This Shia political party is known as Special Groups by the United States, the name that this country gives to militia groups supported by Iran. It is estimated that this group has around 10,000 forces in Iraq. Also, the military activity of this group in Syria is carried out with its 2 special military branches, Haida al-Qarar Bridge and Kafil Zainab Bridge. This group enjoys the military support of Iran and Lebanon's Hezbollah in military training and weapons. Until 2007, Iran provided weapons and financial support to this group in the amount of $750,000 to $3 million every month. Asaib Ahl al-Haq is a relatively extreme group against the US and some Western countries, which has carried out nearly 6,000 attacks in Iraq. Now, this group has 9 brigades in Iraq and Syria. Among the goals of this group are military and political struggle against America and its withdrawal, military struggle and support for Shia holy places and the government of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. First, creating a smuggling network at border crossings. Kataib Hezbollah. This group started working for the first time in 2003 and follows the ideology of Velayat-e Faqih of Iran. The most important goal of this group is to withdraw America from Iraq, to fight against Takfiri groups and to defend Shia shrines, which were included in the list of terrorists by the United States in 2009 due to threatening statements. The leader of this group is Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis until 2020 and Ahmad al-Hamidawi until now. It is estimated that this group has around 3,000 to 5,000 people. Kataib Hezbollah is one of the most important groups supported by Iran and extremists, which has extensive intelligence, military and logistical support from Iran's IRGC. According to Iraqi information, in 2011, 1,000 fighters of this group were paid $300–500 a month. Kataib Hezbollah was made up of various brigades in the past, all of which eventually merged into this group in 2007. Among these branches, we can say Ati Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas Brigade, the Karabullah Brigades, Zayd ibn Ali Brigades, Ali al-Akbar's Brigades, al-Sajjad Brigades. Also, the military branch of this group in fighting ISIS is called al-Muqtar. So far, they have carried out more than 3,000 attacks against American forces and played an important role in the defeat of ISIS. Kataib Sayyid al-Shuhada. This group, also known as KSS, has about 10,000 members and was formed in 2013 as a radical Shiite militia. The most important goal of this group is the protection of Shiite holy places around the world, and it is supported by Lebanon's Hezbollah and Iran's IRGC. This group has also joined the Islamic Resistance in Iraq movement. In addition to Iraq, the most important area of its activity is in Syria. For the protection of Sayyida Zainab Mosque, al-Assad government is present in that country. This group has been included in the list of global terrorists by the US in November 2023. Kataib al-Imam Ali. Kataib al-Imam Ali was established in 2014 and is headed by Shibal Mohsen Obaid al-Zaidi. This group was formed mainly to fight against ISIS, to participate in civil wars, and to defend Shia shrines in Middle Eastern countries. This group is also under the influence of Iran's IRGC and was developed by Soleimani, previous commander of IRGC. It is estimated that this group has around 6,000 people. Among other Iran-related groups in Iraq, Saraya al-Khorasani with 3,000 troops approximately, and Zulfikar Bridge with 1,000 to 2,000 troops should also be mentioned. Number 6. Syria. Syria is one of the crisis-hit countries involved in proxy wars from 4 to 5 directions. Iran, Turkey, Israel, US and West countries, terrorist groups and some Arab countries such as Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Perhaps Syria can be considered one of the most serious countries in the world, which continues to experience involvement with harsh terrorist forces and proxy conflicts, even after 1 decade. Iran seeks to support the established government, Bashar al-Assad, in Syria and preserve the sanctities of Shia Muslims. Turkey seeks to prevent the entry of terrorist forces and confront Kurdish quasi-militants or People's Defense Units, YPG. This country also supports the Syrian National Army, SNA, perceived as a Turkish proxy group. This group has established an alternative government called the Syrian Interim Government, SIG, in northern Syria. The goal of this group is to create a secure area in northern Syria, bordering Turkey, fight against the Bashar al-Assad government and also extremist Islamists. The United States and some Western and Arab countries seek to support liberation forces, including the coalition, the Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, with the majority Kurdish, and also the Free Syrian Army, FSA, to counter the Bashar al-Assad government. These groups respectively control the autonomous administration of North and East Syria, Aenis, and the territory near the Syria-Jordan border. Additionally, there are other parties involved in this country, including Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, known as an Islamist front in Syria, and a rebel coalition in the context of the Syrian civil war. This group has established the Syrian Salvation Government, SSG, a de facto alternative government of the Syrian opposition in Idlib Governorate in northwest Syria. ISIS, remnants of which are in eastern and central Syria, including in Deir ez-Zor Governorate, Homs Governorate and Raqqa Governorate. This group conducts hit-and-run attacks against Syrian government forces and other fronts. Also, Israel is present in Syria with the aim of destroying Iran's proxy forces and dominating the Golan Heights since 1967. The Golan Heights are very important for Israel due to the aristocracy of Israel's lands, provision of drinking water, and close monitoring of Syrian military movements. This area is also the place of conflict between Iranian resistance groups. Syria is a country that has been allied with Iran since before the Iranian Revolution and during the Iran-Iraq War and has supported Iran. Now it serves as a logistical military communication line with Hezbollah in Lebanon and Iran's Axis of Resistance forces near Israel. Now, with a relative awareness of the situation in Syria, we introduce Iranian military and proxy groups in this country. Baqir Brigade, Liwa ul-Baqir. This military group is named after one of the Shiite imams and fights in Aleppo province. The group is primarily a proxy of the Al-Baghat tribe, who traditionally support the government. Established under the command of Khalid al-Hassan in 2012, as part of the Syria Local Defense Forces, this group, with a predominantly Sunni background, has embraced Shia Islam and identifies itself as part of the Axis of Resistance and Syrian Nationalist Force. Although initially consisting of a core of 13 members, it now boasts approximately 3,000 troops, with the majority receiving training and support from Iran's IRGC. Among its objectives are propagation of Shia Islam in the region, support for the Bashar al-Assad government, participation in political, social and infrastructural affairs in cooperation with the Syrian government. Syrian Armed Forces, Al-Quwat al-Musallaha Suriya. The Syrian Arab Armed Forces, including the army of this country, is commanded by Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria. These military formations were established in 1946 and as of the 2024 rankings, they hold the rank of the 60th most powerful army in the world. This country's army consists of conscripted forces aged 18 to 42, as well as individuals who are formally employed by it. It is estimated that there are between 178,000 to 220,000 personnel in the Syrian army, with up to 50,000 non-military or semi-military personnel also present. Due to the army's primary role in supporting Syria and the Bashar al-Assad government, Iran provides it with various weapons and military assistance. For example, military equipment transfers aimed at increasing defensive capabilities and advanced telecommunications equipment were provided as humanitarian aid to Syria during the earthquake in February 2023. Additionally, another part of Iran's assistance to the Syrian government comes in the form of military advisory assistance and the provision of proxy forces from other countries against anti-government factions, some of which are employed to defend Shiite shrines. National Defense Forces, قوات الدفاع الوطني. One of the unofficial local reserve and volunteer forces across Syria, supported and organized by the Syrian government, is called the National Defense Forces, NDF. These forces have many different groups in their bodies, such as Bakir Brigade, which are used to fight against the opposition fronts of the government. National Defense Forces has the role of infantry, in direct conflict with opposition forces, and rebels with the coordination of the army, which benefits from the army's logistical and artillery support. It is estimated that there will be around 100,000 maximum paramilitary and civilian forces. The main forces in this part are Alawites, Shiites, and local forces. The formation of these forces began after the start of the civil war in 2012 and 2013, with the organization and formalization by the government. Also, the former commander of Iran's IRGC, Qasem Soleimani, had a supervisory and important role in its formation, military training, and financing, and used the model of Iran's Basij militia in the formation of these forces. Number 7. Yemen. Yemen has been witnessing a civil war since 2014, with now two major fronts claiming leadership of the official government. The Supreme Political Council, SPC, created by the Shia Houthi groups from the Zaidi sect and backed by Iran, and alongside forces loyal to the former president, and the Presidential Leadership Council, PLC, supported by Arab countries including Saudi Arabia and the UN. The Presidential Leadership Council, an international executive body with 8 members, was formed in 2022 with the aim of finding a political solution following the resignation of Yemen's former president, Mansour Hadi. The powers and authorities of the presidency have been transferred to this council, which controls almost 2/3 of Yemen. A significant branch of this council is the Southern Transitional Council, STC, formed in 2017 to advocate for the separation of southern Yemen, but it has joined the Presidential Leadership Council following Mansour Hadi's resignation, with 3 out of the 8 council members being part of it. The Supreme Political Council, established in 2016 by the Houthi movement and the pro-Houthi faction of the General People's Congress, GPC, consists of 13 members and has its greatest influence over the former northern Yemen in the northwest of the country. This entity, which has defined an alternative government, is only officially recognized by Iran. Since 2014, and following protests against the then-President Ali Abdullah Saleh, Yemen has been embroiled in a civil war. Foreign interventions, particularly from Saudi Arabia, weaknesses and corruption in administrative, political and judicial structures, and the autocratic rule of Ali Abdullah Saleh were among the reasons for protests in the 2010s in this country, leading to the civil war. Now that we have become acquainted with the relatively complex situation in Yemen, stay with us as we delve into one of Iran's largest proxy groups in the Middle East. Houthi movement, Ansarullah al-Houthiyun, also known as Yemen Ansar Allah. This group emerged in the 1990s as a political and armed Shia Zaidi movement in northwestern Yemen. The Houthis, not all of them, belong to a Yemeni tribal clan called Hamadan. Most of the group's forces consist of Shia Zaydis, with their current leader being Abdul Malik al-Houthi. This movement, which emerged in opposition to Ali Abdullah Saleh, the former president of Yemen during the developments of the Yemeni civil war, has been influenced by other Shia groups in the Middle East since 2003 and has adopted the slogan and goal of fighting against America, Israel, Jews, and Wahhabism. In 2014, this group received extensive military training from Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Houthis dominate key populous mountainous areas of Yemen. Therefore, unlike Hezbollah in Lebanon, this group has more military freedom of action. The Houthis have over 200,000 personnel, with their command center in Sana'a, the political capital of Yemen. This group is heavily supported by Iran and receives financial resources, military equipment, and advisory assistance. In recent decades, Iran has used this group as a pressure tool against Saudi Arabia and some countries bordering the Persian Gulf. Furthermore, this movement is now carrying out attacks with missiles and unmanned aerial vehicles in the Red Sea, between the Suez Canal and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, targeting commercial ships, most of which are destined for European and American countries. These actions began and intensified after the Israel-Gaza war in October 2023. Number 8. Lebanon. Lebanon is one of the sensitive and important countries for Iran because it is located in the neighborhood of Israel, and one of the main allies of Iran is Lebanon's Hezbollah. This country has a population of about 27% Shiites, who are mainly located in the south of Lebanon and in the neighborhood of Israel. In Lebanon, there is a group of Iran's Axis of Resistance which was formed in 1985, inspired by the ideology of Shiite Islamism of Syed Ruhollah Khomeini. Of course, the formation of Lebanon's Hezbollah in the early years by the Shia clerics, led by Subhi al-Tufayli in 1982, was only to confront Israel, but with the struggle of this party in 1978 and 1982 against the Israeli invasion, the increase of Iran's influence in this party, and the increase in the power of Iran-affiliated forces, such as Nasrallah wing in the internal structure, became a political military party in Lebanon and affiliated with Iran. According to the statements, the formation of this organization was done with the support of 1,500 IRGC instructors in the early years. Lebanon's Hezbollah now has military, political, and social branches. The purpose of Hezbollah in Lebanon is defined in three parts, which are erasing the effects of Western imperialism and foreign interference in Lebanon, the establishment of the government of the Islamic Republic in Lebanon, creating social welfare through struggle with Israel. Since 2006, the power of the military wing of this group has increased drastically. Of course, the influence of this group with seats in the parliament, television channels, etc., is such that Hezbollah has been described as a state within a state. This group now has around 100,000 people, and its commander is Hassan Nasrallah. The budget of this organization is from different departments, including business and trade groups, Africa, taxes, and other financial aid from Islamic countries. An important part of these aids, which can be considered up to 50–70% of the budget of this organization, is provided from Iran. It is estimated that Iran contributes $200 to $700 million to this organization annually. According to some statistics in recent years, this group has a budget of up to $1.2 billion per year. It should be mentioned that the Lebanese Hezbollah is made up of many units. It is estimated that this political military organization has 20 combat units. Hezbollah's strategy is to use missile and drone power against Israel and its armored and ground units for defense and guerrilla warfare. Number 9. Palestine. Palestine stands as the most sensitive and pivotal point of resistance, with Palestinian territories divided into two parts: the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip. Most military confrontations occur in the Gaza Strip, while the West Bank has adopted a policy of non-engagement and accommodation with Israel. The Palestinian National Authority, known as the Fatah-controlled government, controls the West Bank while Hamas controls the Gaza Strip. Most militant groups are Sunni and nevertheless receive support from Iran. The majority of these militia groups engaged in the fight against Israel are located in the Gaza Strip, with Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad being among the most significant. In response to the recent Israeli attack on the Gaza Strip on October 7, 2023, Israel launched an attack on the Gaza Strip with the aim of destroying the militia forces in the area, which resulted in the killing of 1,400 Israelis by Palestinian militia forces. Following this war, more than 33,000 Palestinians were killed and 75,000 were injured as of the date of this video. It is worth mentioning that in Palestine, there are different political parties, some of which, depending on their ideology, have extremist military branches. Most moderate organizations and political parties, such as the Palestinian National Liberation Movement and the Palestinian Liberation Organization, are present in the West Bank. With a general understanding of the political and military conditions prevailing in Palestine, we aim to name the two main groups of Iran's Axis of Resistance in the occupied Palestinian territories and three other quasi-military groups associated with Iran. Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Harkatul Jihad al-Islami fi Palestine. Palestinian Islamic Jihad, PIJ, is an Islamic militant quasi-military organization formed in 1981 by Abd al-Aziz Auda and Fathi Shakaki. The organization operates in the Gaza Strip and Lebanon and is backed by Iran. Its forces are estimated to be around 8,000. The goal of this organization is Sunni resistance, the establishment of a Palestinian state like Hamas, and the complete destruction of Israel. Its military wing, Al-Quds Brigades AQB, is estimated to have around 12,000 fighters. After Hamas, it is the second largest quasi-military group in Gaza, directly supported by the IRGC. The spokesperson for this brigade, Abu Hamza, is unidentified. The group has a history of numerous attacks on civilians, bombings and rocket assaults in protest against Israel's occupation. It is estimated that this group has launched over 500 rockets into Israel. Most of its leaders have been assassinated by Israel over the past 2 decades. Hamas, Harakatul Muqawamat al-Islamiyya. Hamas, or the Islamic Resistance Movement, is a Sunni Islamic and militant organization governing the Gaza Strip. Formed in 1987, the political bureau chief is Ismail Haniyeh. Since 2007, Hamas has been in conflict with Israel, aiming to establish an Islamic state encompassing all occupied territories. The organization has around 20,000 to 25,000 fighters and is directly supported by Iran as part of Iran's Axis of Resistance. The Izz ad-Din al-Qassam Brigades IQB are Hamas's military wing, established in 1991 by Mohammed Deif. Most of its branches in the West Bank have been destroyed, and it now fights Israeli forces in Gaza. Yahya Sinwar is the military commander. This group is directly supported by Iran's Quds Force. The group's stated goals include contributing to the liberation of Palestine under Islamic teachings and establishing a comprehensive Palestinian government. It is organized militarily and divided into 5 brigades based on geographical locations. It is estimated to have between 15,000 to 40,000 fighters, organized into 30 battalions. Additionally, 3 other Iran-supported groups operate in the region are Al-Nasser Salah al-Din Brigades, the military wing of the Popular Resistance Committees, engages in roadside bombs and vehicle explosive charges. Supported financially by Iran and Hezbollah, this group was the 3rd strongest militia group in Gaza after Hamas and Islamic Jihad in 2014. Jihad Jibril Brigades, the military wing of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, General Command, operates with the aim of liberating Palestine. Although primarily active in Syria alongside the Assad regime, it also operates in Gaza and collaborates with Palestinian militia groups despite ideological differences with Palestinian Islamic Jihad. This military branch is supported by Iran. Abu Ali Mustafa Brigades serve as the armed wing of the Marxist-Leninist Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP, active in Palestinian territories, Syria and Lebanon. Formerly known as the Red Eagle Brigade, it changed its name after its leader's assassination. This group has been financially and militarily supported by Iran since 2013 and is considered part of the Axis of Resistance. It has carried out various attacks against Israelis, and its forces are estimated to number in the thousands. In this video, we tried to have a comprehensive look at Iran's proxy groups in the Middle East region. Due to its ideology and religious beliefs, Iran has created various militant groups in the Middle East countries, and the goal of most of these groups is to fight against America and Western countries, take them out, and destroy Israel. This policy is also to prevent the war from being dragged into the country, which will be very costly. You, the users, can express your opinions about this military strategy of Iran in the comments and compare it with other countries. A lot of effort has been made to compile and collect information for this video. We will be happy to join this documentary channel on YouTube.